everybody. Welcome to today's show. This is Shay Parker, Metaphysical Minds. We are finally back with you. We had a little bit of a hiatus there during the last month or so. We just had to sort of regroup after the big event that we did. So and then we were dealing with sickness issues. It was like, gosh, springtime hit and everybody got hit with bronchitis and the flu and everything else. So anyway, we are alive and well, believe it or not, and we're happy to be back with you today. Today is actually kind of like a little bit of a follow-up of some of the stuff that we talked about during the big 10 for 10 event that we did. And of course, we've brought back one of our expert guests. Tiffany Powers is with us again today. So welcome, Tiffany.
Hey, it's so good to be back. I'm so excited, and I matched your wall.
Yes, you do match my wall. I know. I'm in the purple room today, the Purple Haven. So it's all good. Yeah, you must be psychic. You knew how to match my wall.
And I match a blanket, and also purple is a very psychic color. So how does it get any better?
All right, cool. That's awesome. Yeah. So we've got some people popping in today already. They were giving us shout outs. We've got Sherry Self or Cherie, if I said that wrong. She says hello. Stephen is with us, wishing us a great show. Thank you, Stephen, for that. We're excited to be here, guys. So today's topic, we've only got 40 minutes for the show today. We are actually asking for audience participation today, as always. We are going to be answering questions today, not psychic readings, but just general questions about intuition, because today's topic actually happens to be intuition inquiries or inquiries, depending on what side of the pond you're on. So intuition inquiries is our topic today. And we do actually have some questions from some prior shows that we didn't necessarily get to during the live show. So we're going to answer them today. And then, of course, any of your questions that you have about your own intuition, how to develop your intuition, things that you might be feeling or thinking or experiencing. If you have questions about those, Tiffany has very graciously once again volunteered her time free of charge to answer those questions. And she is, folks, an expert in her field. Definitely check out her website. Tiffany, it's Tiffanypowershealing, isn't it?
Yes, Tiffanypowershealing.com, and on Instagram at Tiffanypowershealing, and on Facebook, Tiffany Powers Intuitive Coaching.
Yes, and we will put that link up here in the comments as well for you guys to check her out. But she is an intuitive coach, as well as I know you're big into the the body, mind, and spirit. You're a keto coach, all sorts of good stuff. So Tiffany is a very, very, very busy lady, and just the sheer fact that she's come here today to volunteer her time for you guys, don't waste the opportunity, I guess is what I'm trying to say. If you've got your questions, feel free to ask them. But I'm going to kick it off with a couple of questions that we've already gotten from the audience in prior shows. So we're going to start with those today. And let's see, the first one is going to be, the topic. Okay, so the topic is beginning intuition and how to recognize your own intuition and grow it. So the first question is, so Tiffany, if we've got folks out there that feel that they do have intuition, which I know everybody's got, but don't know where to start or unsure, what would you recommend for them? What is their first step? Like, how do they become more aware and actually understand their intuition versus what is a thought and what is intuition?
Perfect. Yeah. And I this is one of my favorite topics, and this is something that I'm doing all the time. I do a lot of work with helping people to develop their abilities, and I've, helped people start companies and their businesses by using their gifts. So I love this topic. It's like my favorite thing. And it's something that I work with people like almost every day on. So it's amazing. So I'm so excited to talk about it. So as far as, people being intuitive, I feel that, it's like we all have different gifts, different abilities. It's all going to show up in different ways for us. But one of the best ways to figure out more information about your abilities and to grow them is to really figure out how your gifts work. And looking at the different clairs is really good. Like that's a really good start. And when I say that, I mean like clairsentience, which is like a feeling, or like people who are empaths and that can feel things, or clairaudience, people that can hear things, clairvoyance, people being able to see, claircognizance is like this inner, knowing, those are just some of the basic ones. But, looking those clairs up and just kind of identifying like, hey, where are my strong suits? What are like, where am I like really clairsentient and I really feel a lot of things, and, looking at those things, because those are psychic abilities. And a lot of people think, oh yeah, it's just me. But no, I mean, if you can do those things, you're really gifted, and they don't realize it. And even, I have people that are able to remote view, but they have no idea that they're doing that. And basically remote viewing is the ability to be able to see somewhere else or see something else without actually being there, and being able to use clairvoyance or your third eye to do so. And, an example of that would be like when you're like giving someone directions to go somewhere and you kind of visualize it in your mind. And sometimes people don't realize it, but they're actually seeing like as if they were driving there, what it would look like. And they can see the traffic, they can see everything, the weather, and I always like when I'm doing my teaching with people, I have them do that. And then they can actually see the traffic. They can see whether it's busy or not on that particular road. So it's pretty amazing. But
Wow.
The first step I think is identifying like, what can you do? Where are you starting at? And like what clairs are you utilizing? And then, to strengthen it, I think one of the biggest things is meditation, and taking time to meditate, and like at least giving yourself 15 minutes a day to do that. And also, utilizing different tools as far like you can, I always have my clients play with cards or meditation or just holding crystals and, things like that. But it's just playing with things and using divination devices. Those are really good ways to just start.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, so just to clarify for people out there that may be totally new to this, when you say cards, can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Sure. Yeah. So, I don't think I have them with me, but I have a huge bag of them. But playing with like angel cards or whatever ones you're drawn to, there's animal ones, there's tarot. I mean, there's so many varieties of them, but sometimes just by like buying a deck, and I always encourage my clients when I'm teaching them, like buy a deck and play with them and get the ones that resonate with you and just start pulling them, start meditating with them, journal with them. It's just a really good start into this world, just to start playing with it and having it be fun.
Yeah. And I think that, it's really, and again, people by cards, we're talking like, the divination decks, not necessarily poker cards.
No.
But what's really cool is if you can find like a new age store around you or something, and certainly you can get them online too. But I have found for me anyway, that if I am able to see the cards like in person and see the beautiful artwork on them, and then figure out sort of which ones you're drawn to, that helps, a lot. It's sort of like just going to a museum or to an art store, and what image or photograph or such are you drawn to, and then sort of delving into that and figuring out, hey, I'm really attracted to this, and I feel a connection with this. So that's a great way to kind of look at that. And then as well as Tiffany mentioned, the other divination tools, certain people are drawn to an amethyst. Other people might be drawn to a clear quartz. If you're talking crystals, other people may be drawn to a black tourmaline because they need protection. So find out. I think, and Tiffany, correct me on this if I'm wrong, but what I like to do is figure out organically what I'm drawn to first, without even knowing anything about it. Like if I walk into a crystal shop and then I gravitate towards this bright green stone and I don't even know what it's called, then to me, that sort of tells me, okay, I'm drawn to this for a certain reason. Then I do my background homework on it and figure out what it is, as opposed to looking up on the internet, what are the stones? Oh, this is the one I need. I think like go to what you're drawn to initially, and then kind of do your research on it if you don't know anything about them. I mean, that's just that's the way I do it. It's not right or wrong. I don't think it's just, an option for those. So, yeah. Well, anywho, we have got, okay. Gosh, a lot of people are commenting, and thank you guys for commenting. We've already got, in addition to the questions that we still have from prior shows, I want to hit the live ones while these guys are here listening live. Lori Herring asks a really nice question. How do you open your third eye? I was told I need to do this to use my ability. Great question, Lori, and thank you for watching today. And Tiffany, I'm going to let you take that one away.
Absolutely. So yes. So for opening the third eye, I actually do this with a lot of clients, and I do it through a healing technique. So I do like a Kundalini chakra opening, and then I also do DNA activations for clients that activate their pineal gland and activate spiritual DNA. And I find that like that can help them with their abilities. And that when I'm doing my spiritual teaching to train people intuitively, this is one of the first things that I do with them, because it's so important to have that opened and awakened. So, having a healer work with you or a spiritual teacher to like work on your energy to do that is really awesome. But there's other ways that you can do it yourself. Like you can do, again, meditation. You can, set an intention that your third eye is opening. You can place crystals on your third eye. I have one right here. This was a gift from one of my clients. It was a John of God crystal, but basically, you can, if you're wanting to open a chakra, you would put the point, because this is where the energy is going to flow, and you'd put it right on your third eye. And then this can put energy into it to open and awaken it. So that's like another way, and you can do this like in meditation. Mm-hmm. But also another key is that for some people, their third eye is, even if they work on it and they're doing these meditations or working with crystals, it will not open. And it's usually because you've had a past life where you've had some kind of traumatic thing where you're scared to see again, or even in this lifetime as a child, maybe you saw like spirits or ghosts or things you didn't want to see, so you shut it down. So what I found too is it's important to kind of like resolve those things, because those different like fears and things can kind of get in the way from your third eye opening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's a really good point. And you've discussed this before on prior shows with us. You have to do the work first, the self-healing first, in order to, in other words, you have to be open to receive. And like you just said, if you've experienced a past trauma or something in your life that has caused you to put those walls up, which we all do, it's totally natural. And in fact, it's a good thing in a way, because you do sometimes have to hunker down and protect yourself. I mean, it's just, there is a thing called spiritual warfare. It's a real challenge at times. So yeah. But I know that you and I have talked in previous shows about actually doing the work, heal thyself. And that's what you specialize in, Tiffany Powers Healing. Yeah. So I think, that's a really, really good point to bring up. Like, before you can receive, you have to make sure that all your holes are plugged, or at least most of them. Yes. Otherwise, it's just going to go right back out.
Safety. Yeah. Safety is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. So, folks out there listening, it is a great idea to work with a healer. If you've really been out there and you've been struggling with something, and you keep just hitting these roadblocks and these hurdles, picking somebody like Tiffany, for example, who is a professional, a trained professional, who can literally set up a clear path for you and assist you along the way. It's more than just, hey, okay, I'm paying some money and I'm getting, this book to follow. I mean, guys, there are actual coaches out there who will be right there with you, every step of the way, supporting you, encouraging you, helping you to find ways around those obstacles. And Tiffany is one of those people. So, I just want that to be some food for thought for you guys out there. If you are struggling, I would highly consider, working with someone who does this every single day professionally. So yeah. So Lori says, thank you so much. And so let's see, we got a few more comments on here. Veronica Lamelli says, good morning, ladies. Tiffany is great with her teachings. So there you go. We already have we have a client testimonial right there. So Indeed. All right. So let's see. Learning how to discern between the ego voice and the intuition and inside voice. That is a huge, huge, huge question, because I know for me, I struggle sometimes with I'm a thinker, okay? I'm an introvert. I think all day long. So then I get these moments at time, and I'm getting better with it, where I'll just like get this totally random thought, and I'm like, what? Where did that even come from? But then, like, at first in my earlier years, I used to sort of think these things, and then I would dismiss them and think, well, that was a random thought. Where did that come from? And I would keep just plowing forward, okay, with whatever I was doing.
Yeah.
Perfect example is I have a storage unit, and I don't know, I was so busy one day. I had like 20,000 things going on. I was all over the place that day, and I was just riding down the road, and all of a sudden this thought came in my head, and it was like, you should go check the storage bin. And I'm like, that was a crazy random thought. I mean, it was so far removed. Like, I hadn't been to that storage bin in, 6 months. There was no reason for me to even be in my scope of thought. And I thought, well, that was just a weird thought, and then I dismissed it. Okay. Didn't even pay attention to it. So of course, 2:00 that morning, my phone rings. Well, what had happened was a pipe burst in the building, and nobody knew about it because, of course, it was the weekend, and the whole place flooded. And if I had gone earlier that day, like several hours ago, to check on it, a lot of my stuff wouldn't have been completely underwater and ruined. But that was so like bizarre to me, because this thought just literally was like, I mean, it flew in my head, and that's the only way I can think to explain it. It was just like, boom, and it came in, and it was so randomly odd that I was like, okay, that's odd, but I didn't pay attention to it. So now that was a pretty clear sign. But just going through your everyday life, how do you know? Because I mean, we think, I think they've cataloged it, hundreds of thousands of thoughts a day or something like that. So how do you know the difference, and how can you start to differentiate between what is a internally formed thought versus our guides or our intuition like screaming at us?
Oh,
Do you have
yeah.
any tips for that?
Sure. So, I think the more that you listen to it and it's right, you'll trust it, and and you'll just, build a bond and relationship with your guide or guides or angels or whoever you're working with. And yeah, it's like a lot of things that are more ego-based are usually going to be like more based in fear.
Mm-hmm.
And fear-based thoughts, or like something bad's going to happen, or, like having anxiety or things like that, that might be more of an ego-based thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
But when your guides are connecting with you, or angels or beings of light or whatever you're working with, basically it's going to be information that is relevant to you or to people in your life that can help you or protect you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not necessarily going to be like a fear-based thing. Like I'll give you an example too. This is like when I really started trusting my intuition, but about, I think it was 8 years ago or maybe 9 years ago, right about when I started my company. My grandmother, she lived an hour away. I was a caregiver for her, and she had dementia, and her mind was failing her. And she was also on a lot of medications for blood thinners. And I heard this voice just come in and just say, it was like, just out of nowhere, just, you need to go to your grandmother's house. And I was like, okay, and it just came to me, and, through meditation. And I was like, okay, so I just didn't question it. I got in my car and I drove to my grandmother's house an hour away. When I opened the door, she collapsed and she was on the floor, and she ended up being hospitalized. And because she was on blood thinners, she was living by herself. If she would have laid there, she could have passed away because of her medications. But I just trusted that so strongly, because it was just so like, go now. And it saved her life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's pretty amazing. But I think it's just, like when those things come to you, taking note of them or writing them down, putting them in your phone, and just seeing like what you're getting, is it actually happening in your life? Like, also, is it preventing things for you? Is it helping you? I will get messages like, you need to go this different way home, or you need to not work with this person. And then I'll find out that that person was really shady, things like that. So it's really just listening, trusting, and just kind of building a relationship with your team that works with you, and just seeing that this information is right on, and how amazing that is for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the validation of knowing, okay, I think that this is intuition, and then sort of validating that, and then I guess really learning what that voice is, or learning to tune into that channel, a little bit more clearly. I liken it to one of those old dial radio stations, where you're kind of like, zzz, 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 and then you get it a little bit more, and then it comes in. So, and it's much clearer. So yeah. And it's a tough one, because especially for the people that do have, if they live in a sort of fear state, and constantly have these negative thoughts coming in, or fear-based, or like you said, anxiety-based thoughts, it's really hard sometimes to take a step forward, because they're afraid they're going to step in quicksand or something, because they're not sure. So that is it's a tough one for sure. Let's see here. Okay. Learning how to actually meditate to receive information. That's a great question. Are there different types of meditation? Or would you say that all meditation allows you to receive information? I mean, do you purposefully go into meditation with an intent?
That's a great question. So, there are so many different ways to meditate, and so many like schools of thought on that. And I always tell my clients that they can meditate in whatever way they feel comfortable. And meditation can be going for a walk. Meditation can be working in your garden. Meditation can be pulling up on Spotify healing vibrational tones or whatever. It can be putting on like your singing bowls or using those. I mean, you can hold a crystal and meditate. So I think it's just whatever you feel comfortable with, whatever resonates with you, and just whatever's like feeling good with your body. And you can just try out different things to see what works for you. And for me, I do set an intention, cause like if I'm going to have clients all day and I'm going to meditate, like this morning I meditated and I just said, please give me any information about me or my clients, anything that I need to know today. And then I'll kind of just get like information as it's coming through, and then I'll write it down or just remember it for the day.
Writing it down is brilliant. Yeah, that's a really good idea. Like the journaling.
Yes.
I know a lot of our folks do that, and that's always such a great tip, because it, again, I go back to hundreds of thousands of thoughts a day, and sometimes you have something, but then you skip over it because you're doing the laundry, washing the car, taking care of the kids, walking the dog, answering the phone. I mean, and then you're just sort of you set that off to the side. So that's a really good tip for folks. Keep a journal, and also, I guess when you're meditating, if anything is coming to mind, I mean, not specifically throughout the day, but when you're in meditation, jot those things down too. So, okay. So someone asked us, I would like to understand when the connection is made to spirit and how to maintain that connection. That's a tough one. Of course, everybody is different. So I'd like to understand when the connection is made to spirit and how to maintain the connection.
Perfect. That's a good question. It's good. Well,
yeah.
And I think that one is going to be, spirituality and connecting with the divine or spirit is going to be individualized for each person. It's going to shift based on their religious beliefs and perceptions, or spiritual beliefs and perceptions. For me, when I'm connected, I feel a lightness. I feel almost like a very peaceful, heavenly energy, where it's just almost like all is well in my world, and I feel very calm, and I can just feel my whole body relaxing. And I try to stay plugged in, most of the day because I'm working with clients all day. But sometimes I do like say, okay, I'm not doing this right now. I'm just going to go be human for a while or normal or whatever. But, I think it's going to definitely be a feeling that you get, peaceful feeling. If you're feeling scared, if you're feeling negative, if you're feeling sad, if you're feeling just very just a heaviness, you're probably not connecting with the divine or spirit or your guides. You're probably connecting with something else. And when you're doing this work, it's extremely important and crucial to learn how to connect directly, because you do not want to be connecting with some of these other things that are not so great. So it's good to work with someone that can teach you how to do that.
Yeah. And that, I mean, I never really, I guess, thought about that in the scope of it, because, where you have dark, you can also have light, and vice versa. And where there's positivity, there's negativity. I mean, everything has a balance, the yin and the yang. So you just want to make sure that you are plugged into the right to the right frequency, if you will. So that's a really good tip. And again, to everybody out there listening, we just want to say thank you. Lots of people are commenting. Nina Sawyer just said, hi, Tiffany. Lori thanked us earlier. Sherry. Guys, if you do have any questions, feel free to type them in the comments. Today's topic, excuse me, is intuition inquiries. And, we're basically talking all about intuition. So if you have any questions about intuition, or how to, further strengthen it, develop it, use it, any fears surrounding your intuition. I know that's a big one for a lot of people. Tiffany talked about this earlier in the show. Sometimes, especially, kids, young kids they're very open, to spirit. And so lots of times they can see things or experience things that might actually frighten them, and that goes on into adulthood, if they don't completely cut it off. But if there's anything out there that you're struggling with, or you just have questions with, please feel free to ask them here. Tiffany is volunteering her time today free of charge to answer your questions, about intuition. So with that said, let's see. First step is being aware. Okay. Yeah, we've got that.
I might add another thing too. I was just thinking that might be helpful when
Please do.
Discernment about when it's something coming through a message or when it's your ego. Another example, a really good example of that, this comes up a lot when I'm working with people for healing, or when I'm especially relationship stuff. So, sometimes, when you're in a relationship, sometimes you feel like the person you're with is cheating on you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like a hunch that you can have, you just have a gut or intuition, I just feel like something's off or different. But there's other times when it's more of a fear.
Mm-hmm.
And
mm-hmm.
A hunch of so-and-so's cheating on me, that's an intuitive ability coming through, a gift, or saying, hey, your partner's cheating on you. But
right.
Something coming up oh my God, I'm so scared that, Tommy's going to cheat on me. And just that anxiety and that fear coming up. What I do with those people when those things are coming up for them, I always ask them, have you ever had trauma before where a previous person cheated on you? Or have you ever been abandoned before by your mom or your dad or someone? And if they're oh yeah, all of my previous boyfriends cheated on me, or yeah, my dad abandoned us, our family. So sometimes those feelings that are coming up, it's because you have things that you need to heal, and they're just kind of coming through. It doesn't necessarily mean that Tommy's going to cheat on you.
Mm-hmm.
It just means that you've got some things that are coming up. So that would be more of an ego thing that's coming up, if that helps people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's a really good point. And here's the other caveat to that is, if you keep accusing Tommy of doing something that he's not even doing, he's not going to stick around for that too long.
No.
It's sort of you're almost
manifesting it.
Yeah. This issue that may not have ever
be there.
Even been remotely true. So yeah, I mean, it's the mind and the spirit and the will are incredibly powerful, both in the good and the not so good at times. So this is why, intuition and understanding intuition is so important, because we can literally manifest that which isn't anywhere even on the horizon. But if we're freaking out about it so much, or panicking, or having, anxiety over it, you can almost will something into reality. It sounds crazy, but I've seen it happen over and over and over again. So so Tiffany, when people come to you, and I know you do this every day, what would you say their biggest struggle is with their intuition? I mean, do you think it's just trusting themselves, or do you think it's more like the fear of the unknown, or what do you find that their biggest challenge is?
Well, I mean, it's actually extremely easy for me to train people and get them to open up, and I can get them to open up really fast. Like within a month, I could get them to basically even have their own business, which is really cool.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah. So it's more of, I feel that like the most interesting thing is that they don't believe how gifted they are. And the biggest part is me giving them a bunch of like, trial readings, and I'll hook them up with people that need readings or animals or whatever they're working on. And basically they have to see that I was right about that. And then, and then we kind of go over certain things, and we work on like their perception. Like they might be perceiving things a certain way, but like we kind of fine tune it, but it's going to be different for everybody. But I think the biggest thing is that people don't really believe how gifted they are. And they don't understand how important this work is and how valuable it is to the world and humanity. And then they start to just like have people respond and go, "Oh my God, you changed, you changed my life," or you know what I mean? It's just amazing. So I have to help them to build confidence, which I do help them do, but it's through practice and just encouragement and just fine tuning things a little bit and helping them to understand what they're getting.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is. I mean, practice makes perfect. And here's the thing, guys. Nobody out there is perfect. I mean,
No.
There's free will. Everybody has, the opportunity to change their course. I mean, how many of you have been listening to your GPS and it's like, turn right, but you know that, hey, I'm just going to go this other way. And then inevitably you end up in Timbuktu, and you're like, maybe I shouldn't have, it's like, yeah. So that happens. I mean, it's part of it, but it doesn't mean that you can't get back on track, which is, that's a cool thing, because you can always, make that U-turn, hopefully. So yeah, good stuff there. Something else I wanted to ask you was, okay, so obviously we've got intuition. We also have our guides. Now, do you, as a professional in this industry, do you have a more, like, in other words, people, we get the question all the time, how do I know who my spirit guides are? Do you have any specific tips or tricks? Because I can tell you, for me, like I'm getting better, and I don't claim, just disclaimer here, folks, I do not claim to be psychic. I'm not a medium. I'm not a psychic. I'm not anything like that. I mean, I'm not, I run the company, but I don't have any of that specialness that Tiffany does. Like, I mean, a little bit maybe, but nowhere near what these, professionals have. So here's the thing. With my experience, I do think I'm getting a whole lot better at differentiating between, like guidance coming in versus my own thoughts, what's going on in my head. But I know all these people who are like, yeah, my spirit guide is a man, and he's, 6'2", and he's got dark hair, and I'm like, what? How do you, so do you have a relationship like that with your spirit guides? Like, do you know what they look like? Like, can you differentiate between, for lack of a better, male and female, and I know that, I mean, do you know all that, or?
Oh yeah. Well, I think that they show you what they want to show you. And when you're going through a really big transition, or if you're in this industry, I mean, you can have like a lot, like 160, 40, like, so when I'm teaching people to connect with their spirit guides or beings of light that work with them, basically I just have them do a meditation where they connect with them and where they start to develop a relationship. And as they start to trust that relationship, they can ask things like, what's your name? There might be a certain color associated with them. There might be a certain feeling. You might feel like one of your guides is really spicy and fiery. You might feel like another one's super loving. And but again, it's going to be dependent on your perception, how your gifts work. Do you feel things? Do you see things? Do you hear things?
Right.
But yeah, and you can, when you're building this relationship with the team that works with you, you can ask them to step forward, and you're probably going to have different ones that are helping with different things. So, if your mission is to work with animals, for example, you're probably going to have like a guide that is specific to that, and then they're going to help you. So you can ask more questions, or, what does this mean? Or what is your name? And sometimes they show up as actual like us, but sometimes they don't. Sometimes they are sounds. Sometimes they're tones, sometimes they're lights. Like, so it's going to be really, based on your perception and how much you're willing to open yourself. So I think it's just going to be dependent on the person. But yes, there are ways to do it, and it's going to be through meditation, building a relationship, and connecting every day with that being or multiple beings that you're working with.
Yeah, yeah. And is there a way, obviously we have this thing called mediumship where we're connecting to those that have lived here on this earthly plane and passed over. Do you find a definitive difference in your spirit guides versus those that have passed over? And I want to clarify this for folks because, mediumship is an amazing thing. Okay. But from a sort of teacher-student perspective, okay, do you find that those that are in spirit that have been with us, like our parents, our grandparents, our relatives, etc., do you find on a different level than our spirit guides? How many times have you been through, you've done a mediumship reading and then mom comes through and says, hey, I don't like that guy that you're with, or whatever, I'm just throwing something out there. Whereas your spirit guides may be on a different path than that. So do you find that, I guess the question I'm asking is, do you find that there is still more humanity and human opinion attached to those that are in spirit versus your actual spirit guides that are set there to guide you and protect you? Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. No, it's a beautiful question, but yeah, with the spirit guides, it could be like a different, more wise approach with wisdom, and like it could be connected more to highest truth. And then when you're dealing with like family members or people on the other side, their personalities are going to come through, and depending upon what that personality was, or even if they were like, maybe they weren't such a great family member, maybe they
you're kind of a jerk. Yeah.
My mom on the other side was super controlling, and when they're on the other side, I believe, like, just from my work, that they're still doing their work. They're still working on themselves and healing their souls and going through a transformation. So I've seen them, when I have been doing mediumship, like that they will show up and they can have ego and they can have like fears and still trying to be controlling or whatever. But your guide might say, okay, no, you need to do this or date this person. But your mom who passed away is like, nope, don't do it. So yeah, there's just a difference, and it's good to connect with people on the other side. But I just think when it comes to your life and decisions and things that you're doing for yourself, or when you're doing readings, it's really good to connect with the beings of light that you work with.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was kind of what I was trying to get to. Like, in other words, when we get advice from those that are on the other side, that we knew, or sometimes we didn't even know, like it might be a distant uncle or something that we won't even know who they are. But I think that there is a differentiation between, like our family versus those that are, it's sort of like their job to be there to, and you put it beautifully, your team. Because that's really kind of what it is you've got this whole spiritual guide team that their main focus in life is, life is anyway, their main focus is to, guide you the right way, whereas, your great uncle Max might be like, hey, where's my so and so, you're sitting in my rocking chair, so it's a bit of a different level there. So okay, let's see, we've got a couple minutes left, but it looks like Anne, one of our regulars, she did ask a question here. She says, let me put it up on screen. Each day, different people enter my mind, and I feel that I am supposed to text them or call them. My mind is always filled with people and why I can do to reach them. She must have meant what I can do to reach them. Yeah. My mind is always filled with people and what I can do to reach them. So basically, she has people all day that enter her mind, and she feels that she's supposed to text or call them. So
good. That's a good question.
Yeah. So, any advice that you would give to Anne other than texting them or calling them, I guess?
I call it the psychic bell. And I get it all the time. I know the day before, usually either a week before, a day before, a couple days before, who's going to book with me, my client, who's going to contact me for a session. They're not on my books. They haven't told me. They haven't sent me a message. And I always crack up and I say, I thought about you 2 days ago. I just told this to one of my clients the other day, and I said, you're ringing my psychic bell. Yeah. And it's kind of like we both, ring each other's bells. But it can like, and, I don't always text people when I get that, or I don't call them. I just kind of put out there if they're meant to contact me that they do, or, I just use my intuition. Like maybe I should, if I need to call them, show me that or whatever. But yeah, it's a totally normal thing. And it just usually means that there's going to be some kind of connection that occurs, and it can be it's a good thing, depending on, or also could be like that they need to speak to you because something's not right or they need your help. So, it's just asking questions. Like you might get that intuition, but connect with your team and say, okay, what does this mean? Should I contact them? Are they going to contact me? Is there something wrong? Do I need to know something? This is where you just start asking more questions and building your relationship. And then you can know what to do when that occurs.
Yeah. And that's another great way, like you were talking about earlier, validation, so follow it up and figure out what it is that, why these people are popping up so much. And then you could then figure out your, how you're getting messages more clearly. So that's a really good starting point, I think. And if you didn't catch the whole show, definitely go back, because Tiffany was talking about sort of testing your intuition and validating it earlier in the show. So definitely look into that. So we're going to get ready to wrap here. I just want to put up one more thing that Julie is with us today, Julie Palmer, and she says, thank you. These are all great reminders, as I do get lost in different emotions that can take me away from connecting or listening to guidance. It's often counterproductive and can make life difficult. I think that's a great thing to wrap on, because that's the whole point of this show today, is to, figure out how we can differentiate between our emotions and getting lost versus listening and connecting to our guidance. So Julie, that was a great way to sort of, help wrap this show today and what it has been all about, because it can get very difficult, as you just said, to get caught up in emotion, and then we sort of close our ear and our senses, whatever Claire you are, to listening to those messages that are really trying to get through. So thank you for that, Julie. And yeah, we just want to thank everybody for kind of joining us today and tuning in. And let's see, Julie's got well, see, now all these questions are coming in. It's like, but unfortunately, guys, we're at the top of our show. We may take these and answer them a little bit later. But yeah, I just want to thank everybody who joined us today, and certainly thank our expert guest, Tiffany Powers. Again, she can be found at tiffanypowershealing.com. Her link is right here in the comments. We will be back again in 2 weeks, folks, with another episode of Metaphysical Minds. And yeah, Tiffany, any final words of wisdom for our listeners today?
Yes, if you're wanting to develop your gifts, I highly recommend seeking out a mentor and someone that can help you And if you do, it will make it way easier for you.
Yes, definitely. And that coaching is a great thing. I can go out there and shoot at a basketball hoop all day, but if I have a coach saying, hey, move your arm this way, stand this way, it certainly helps a bit. So, all right, guys, we are going to wrap. I know Tiffany is super busy today and has a ton to do, so we're going to go ahead and sign out. But thanks again for listening. This is Shay Parker. I don't even know my name. Shay Parker, Metaphysical Minds. Tiffany Powers is with us today. And yeah, like I said, we'll be back in 2 weeks. So in the meantime, I just want to ask you guys to take care of yourselves and take care of one another, and definitely listen to that intuition. So we'll see you in 2 weeks, guys. Thanks so much. Bye-bye for now.